Good morning, everybody. We are looking at compound inequalities today. There are two types of compound inequalities, and I just want to preface this first by saying this will be a very short set of notes. We're going to go through 6 examples, and then you'll have the assignment to complete. For the two types of compound inequalities, the first one that we're going to look at is what we call the OR inequality. And with the OR inequality, we're going to first do example 1, and then we'll discuss it a little bit further as to how the OR differs from the AND inequalities that we'll look at next. So for example 1, we have two inequalities. We want to solve each one of these inequalities independent of one another. So for the first inequality, we want to subtract 4 from both sides. And we get 3x is less than or equal to 6. And then we want to divide everything by 3. So we get x is less than or equal to 2. So on our number line, at positive 2, we're going to put a closed circle because it's less than equal to. Remember that equal sign means that we include the value. So we would put a closed circle on that number on the number line. The inequality points to the left, so that makes it really handy. We just draw this line, and our solution lies everything to the left of positive 2, including positive 2. Then we're going to do the same thing for the second inequality. In this case, we divide everything by 5, and we get x is greater than 9. So at 9, we have an open circle. Inequality points to the right, and there's our solution set. Now, as far as the interval notation goes, we start from the left and we move to the right. So starting from the left, that arrow point indicates that it goes on infinitely. So we go to negative infinity, or from negative infinity, up to positive 2. And we put a bracket around positive 2 because it has a closed circle. And then we have this union, which represents that gap between the two values. Parenthesis around 9 because it's an open circle. And then that goes on out to positive infinity. If we jump down here to, before I go on, I did say we were going to talk about the OR inequalities a little bit more specifically. With an OR inequality, what happens is you generate two solutions, and those two solutions diverge. They go in opposite directions of each other. One goes to the left, the other goes to the right, and you have a gap in the middle of the two values. That's the OR inequality. We're going to see later with the AND inequality that the opposite is true. So with example 3, we're going to do the same process. The first thing we want to do with the first inequality is subtract 8. So we get negative 3y is less than or equal to negative 15. Then we will divide everything by negative 3. And when you divide inequalities, or multiply inequalities for that matter, by a negative number, you have to flip the inequality. So we're dividing by a negative 3, and we get positive 5. So at positive 5, it's a closed circle. The inequality points to the right. So there's our solution set for that. And then for the second inequality, we're going to add 3 to both sides, which gives me negative 30. Divide by 10, and I get y is less than or equal to negative 3. At negative 3, a closed circle. Solution set is everything to the left. So for my interval notation, it's negative infinity to negative 3 with a bracket because of the closed circle. And then I pick it back up at positive 5 with a bracket out to infinity. The last one that we'll look at on this set is number 6, because it is similar to number 3 in that we have to flip inequality symbols, but we're doing a different procedure. On number 6, the first inequality, we have to multiply by negative 3 to get that negative 3 out of the denominator. So then we flip the inequality, and that gives us a positive 15. Then we subtract the 8, and then divide by negative 1. So again, our inequality flips, and we get x is less than or equal to negative 7. So at negative 7, closed circle, everything to the left, and we have that solution set. For the inequality on the right, the first thing we do is subtract 5. And then we multiply by negative 2/3. Remember, when you divide by a fraction, you can multiply by its reciprocal. Because that is a negative 2/3, we flip the inequality, and on the right we get positive 4. So then at positive 4, it's an open circle, and it's everything to the right. So our interval notation, negative infinity to negative 7 with a closed bracket, and then we pick it back up at positive 4 with a parenthesis on out to infinity. So that's the OR scenario with compound inequalities. The next thing that we want to look at is the AND inequalities. And the AND inequalities are slightly different. Process for solving them is the same. The graph is where we notice that we have something different going on. So for number 7, we're going to subtract 3. And we get 2x is greater than negative 12. Then we're going to divide everything by 2, and we get x is greater than negative 6. So at negative 6, let's just put an open circle. Then let's solve the second inequality. The second inequality, we will add 2 to both sides, and then divide by 8. And that gives us 4 with an open circle. Now the AND situation that we're looking at here with the AND inequalities, the solution lies between the two values. It doesn't go in opposite directions, they go towards one another, so it lies between the two values. And the interval notation is actually relatively simple. At negative 6, it's an open circle, so we get a parenthesis. And then at positive 4, it's also an open circle, so it gets a parenthesis. And there's our interval notation for number 7. Now let's look at number 10, because it is slightly different. It does not explicitly have the word AND written in the inequality. We only have a single inequality. So what we do here is we subtract the 4 from the middle, but we also have to subtract it from the right and the left, and that gives us 0 is less than 3p less than 15. And then we divide everything by 3. 0 is less than p less than 5. And now we can graph that. 0 is an open circle, 5 is an open circle, everything in between. And our interval notation is 0 to 5, both with parentheses. And our last one is going to be number 12, and then we'll be done with this set of notes, and you guys can go on and get the assignment completed. With number 12, it's very similar to number 10, but our first step is we have to multiply everything by negative 2 to get that negative 2 out of that denominator. Since we're multiplying by a negative, we have to flip the inequalities. So here we get positive 10, flip the inequality, 12 minus x, flip the inequality, positive 4. Now we subtract 12 from everything. And then finally, to get rid of that negative in front of the x, we divide everything through by negative 1. So again, we have to flip our inequalities. So we get 2 less than or equal to x less than or equal to negative 4. Did I do that right? I messed up somewhere. Oh yeah, when I subtract, sorry guys, when I subtract the 12, this should be a negative 8. Then that becomes a positive 8. My apologies. So again, our solution set at 2, it's a closed circle. At 8, it's an open circle, and everything in between. The difference here with our interval notation is that 2 gets a bracket, whereas 8 gets a parenthesis. So there are the notes for today. You will get new notes on Wednesday, and then a final set this week on Friday. Try to get these assignments completed, guys. If you are behind, don't worry about it. Just start trying to get caught up. I did have somebody send me some work yesterday. They apologized for being late. There's no need to apologize. I'm just grateful that you're getting it completed. What I would like to see, though, is a lot more of these assignments start getting turned in. There are very few of you that are doing the work. I haven't heard from many of you since we've been on break for the NTI days, and that's very imperative that I do know what's going on. If you're having trouble with this stuff, let me know. I'll help you. You can take pictures of these assignments, send them to me on Remind. You can email them to me. Whatever is easiest for you to get the assignments to me. But this is the point where we're at. Everything's kind of technologically driven right now. So just be cognizant of that you need to be taking pictures of this stuff and sending it to me, and get it to me whatever means is best. I hope everybody's doing well. Later on today, I will send out a mass message on Remind to all of my classes with a schedule for the Zoom meetings for this week. Zoom meetings will be held Tuesday through Friday. It will include you all in one or maybe even two of those days. So when I send that out, please mark it down so that you can be present when we have our Zoom meeting. We had very low attendance on these, and that's not good. So I will be talking to you guys later on, and everybody have a wonderful day.